I'm excited to share a class with you today about something that I think that we can all benefit from knowing more about. I know that often you've maybe heard that oils can be used for emotions, and maybe you're not exactly sure on just exactly why that is or what that's all about. And so, but maybe you've even experienced some of them working. I mean, names like stress away and valor and joy, these are peace and calming. These are oils that most people who are young living customers are completely knowledgeable about how they use them, and it's sort of intuitive in the names how they might use them to support their emotions, but maybe you don't necessarily understand just what that's all about. So we're going to do a class today on emotions, oils and emotions. And we're going to highlight, this is highlighting the feelings kit, which we'll talk about at kind of the end. But of course, each of these oils are available for purchase separately from one another. I'm just going to plug for you why you would want to get the feelings kit and not, in fact, buy each of these oils individually. So let's dive in. Emotions can be difficult. They can be scary. We can have learned habits that teach us to suppress our emotions and not recognize them, feel them, process them, experience them. But our ability to recognize and feel and process and release emotions enables us to function more positively and in a better, more like, if oils are about homeostasis, right? In a more balanced way, we can think homeostasis for our emotions as well. And so you can help your own body process these things. So we learn about and develop emotions from birth through early childhood, development and onward. And truly, like, we're meant to continue to grow and learn and expand in our ability to handle and regulate our emotions with time. But often children recognize emotions. If you're a parent, you know that, and they learn to process them, but giving healthy coping mechanisms or healthy ways to process them can be powerful gifts that, as a parent or caregiver or loved one to children, you can help them acknowledge and work through and deal with. It also means that if you didn't establish an effective technique or effective techniques to process your emotions early on in those childhood days, you may have some catching up to do. And this is, I mean, often why people are, they resort back to the thing that they know best. And often, sometimes those habits, I mean, I think I don't think any of us is perfect emotionally in how we handle and process our emotions. And so sometimes those learned habits are kind of like our default, and we can grow in those things. So in this class, I'm going to share some of the 6 best essential oils for this. And they're ones that, like I said, that are available in the feelings kit. As always, the disclaimer is I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to diagnose or treat or cure any of your illnesses, be they physical or mental. The content I'm providing is just for informational purposes only, and in many cases is anecdotal, especially as it pertains to emotions, because we all have these different emotions and different experiences. So let's look a little bit at the science about this process. Like, maybe, like I said, maybe you've understood stress away or peace and calming or valor or release or these types of things, but maybe you don't exactly understand why. When talking about emotions, we always have to talk about the limbic system. And the limbic system is a system of nerves and networks in the brain that controls basic emotions and drives. So think of it as the emotional brain, and it supports 5 major functions: emotions, behavior, motivation, long-term memory, and sense of smell. Essential oils can be used to tap directly into that limbic system to stimulate memories and emotions. As you inhale essential oils, just like as you inhale anything, tiny molecules enter your nasal cavity, and they pass by the olfactory bulb. And your olfactory bulb is a part of your limbic system. And therefore, your response to an aroma is going to be emotional before it can be rational. That's the way we're wired. So love it or leave it. That's who you are, and that's how it goes. The good news is that that means you can use essential oils to recall memories, both good and bad. If they're bad, you can use some of these oils to help process them and work through them. and move past them, maybe even, or see growth in them. And we all regularly come into contact with reactions to smells. I mean, this isn't a new concept. You walk into your house at dinner time, maybe you know, when you would come home from college and you walk in and there's that familiar smell of dinner being prepared, and your emotions instantly triggered to fond memories of you having that meal, or you feeling joy. You smell the cologne that your grandfather used to wear. It instantly triggers emotions based on your relationships, your relationship with him. If you had a good relationship, you may feel emotions like love and joy. And if you had a bad relationship, or he's passed recently and you haven't like worked through that, you may feel anger or sadness. So this isn't an original idea. Sometimes you can just instantly be transported back into a time period. I always joke that for me, CK1 and winter fresh gum is like instantly transports me back into like awkward high school or middle school dances. Just there's your there's your trigger for me right there. So now that we've covered a little bit of the science, let's go into some of the powerful blends and that are in this feelings kit and talk about how they can be used. Again, one of these you will definitely recognize. Several of these you might be familiar with, but this is just going to give you some ideas of how we use these oils. The first one we're going to talk about is harmony. And I'm actually diffusing that right now. I don't have any disharmony in this room, but it's one that I'll diffuse at night. Sometimes I have kids that share rooms. And so it just, sometimes I just think, well, you know, we need some harmony in this house. It's a blend of sacred sandalwood, lavender, ylang ylang, frankincense, orange, angelica, geranium, hyssop, Spanish sage, black spruce, coriander, bergamot, lemon, jasmine, Roman chamomile, palmarosa, and rose. So that, wow, that's a mouthful, right? Harmony is a blend that contains scents to provide an uplifting experience, right? Using positive affirmations with oils is something that people often do at the same time, and it can help kind of make the effect and make your brain reframe. And so as you connect positive thoughts with a scent, or an affirmation to a physical smell, you begin to connect these two and establish more intentional experiences and practices. So that's one thing worth considering. One way that you could use harmony is diffuse 4 to 6 drops, 1 hour, 3 times daily. Like if you're working on harmony or whatever, it's a perfect one to diffuse to keep peace in your home. You can diffuse it around children who are playing to keep the atmosphere light and fun. You can diffuse it around your spouse to bring a sense of peace and harmony between the two of you. You could like add it to a nighttime routine when you just hang out. If you have kids, once you get those kids to bed, or if you've had a long work day, once you get the work day done and you're just hanging out with one another, this would be a great oil to diffuse. You could apply 2 to 4 drops on your collarbone for inner harmony. And then one suggested affirmation that you could use for this would be, I am one with all. If that's what you choose, that's an affirmation that is recommended for harmony. Of course, you can choose your own affirmations. If you come from a faith persuasion, you can certainly find affirmations or Bible verses that support harmony or unity, those kinds of things, and replace it with that instead. So dilution for this specific one is not really required except for the most sensitive skins. So use it as needed. As you can see here, family time, guests over, any of those kinds of scenarios. Next up is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not always easy. And at times it can, I'm going to give you a quote from a woman named Marianne Williamson. She said, forgiveness is not always easy. At times it feels more painful than the wound we suffered to forgive the one that inflicted it. And yet there's no peace without forgiveness. And I think that that's all experience we can be familiar with. I once had a pastor who would repeat the phrase over and over again. Bitterness or unforgiveness is like drinking a glass of poison and waiting for the other person to die. It doesn't hurt anybody but yourself. So there is much value in offering forgiveness when it's needed. We are all living lives full of relationships, and there's going to be many opportunities for us to practice this art of forgiving when we're bothered by the actions of others in our past, or it can start feelings of anger or resentment or hate, or even like the emotional pain that you experience in that interaction. Forgiveness is an oil that you can use to help support your ability to release all of those negative emotions in your inner body and begin the healing process. One useful technique that you could use forgiveness for is to combine deep breathing while inhaling forgiveness oil. So you could put it in your hand, make a cup of a tent it over your nose and mouth, and take some deep breathing exercises. So it can be as easy as stopping what you're doing and taking a slow, deep inhale, feeling your lungs expand and fill up. Then release your breath just as slowly as you took it in. Repeat this 2 more times and boom, you've got it. I would encourage you also, if you come from a faith persuasion, one thing you could do is you could look up breath prayers. That's a common practice, is connecting your devotion or physical body to your spiritual self by breathing in a prayer and breathing out a prayer, inhaling a prayer and exhaling a prayer. You give me life. I can be strong in you, or something. Just look up some breath prayers. There's some really great ones out there. I'm not going to trademark the one I just did. There's much better examples out there. The blend forgiveness contains sesame, melissa, geranium, frankincense, royal Hawaiian sandalwood, coriander, angelica, lavender, bergamot, lemon, ylang ylang, jasmine, helichrysum, Roman chamomile, palmarosa, and rose. Now, if you've done any study on some of these singles, you're hearing some of the oils that are very strong emotional oils. Rose is always going to be a really strong emotional oil. Frankincense is going to be very beneficial for grounding. Sandalwood, all of these things. Angelica, these are really strong individual oils for grounding. And so Young Living has formulated these blends with these things in mind. How you could use the blend forgiveness, use this blend topically or in a diffuser to feel and process forgiveness. You could apply 2 to 4 drops directly to your right rib cage or the center of your foot to help you kind of process those. Dilution is not required except for the most sensitive skin, and use it as needed. Or you can diffuse 4 to 6 drops as you are experiencing a need for forgiving someone. And one suggested affirmation would be, I learned from all of life's experiences. And you can repeat this affirmation as you practice deep breathing exercises. There are plenty of Bible verses that you could do that are to forgiveness, that speak to forgiveness. I mean, I can just off the top of my head, we're doing scripture memory in our homeschooling right now, and Colossians 3:13 says forgive probably 3 times in just that verse. So you could recite a verse for yourself and process it. You might even find that as you are thinking, as something comes up, one way to think about processing as something comes up, or you're recognizing in your body stress or anxiety about something, in that moment, instead of just being like, oh, I'll deal with that later, and just like suppressing and moving on, and maybe you could just take a minute. It doesn't have to be like a big, long drag out. I have to stop everything I'm doing for the next hour and deal with this situation. You could just take a minute and maybe go grab that forgiveness as something comes to mind, and put it in and take a few deep breaths and recite those prayers, and slowly watch the transformation of your own heart begin to take place. To really encourage you in this one. Inner child. This is one that people love. And if you've ever asked yourself the question of like, who am I? Or what am I about? Or what's a value? What's my high value, my high personal values? What are some of my family values? Those types of things. You may have asked yourself this many different times throughout your life. So transitions from being a child to a teenager, or a teenager to an adult, or when graduating from high school or graduating from college, searching for a career. Maybe you're entering a relationship and you're needing to figure out who you are as you kind of intertwine your life with someone else's. And this is when inner child may encourage you to connect with your authentic self. So it's got orange, tangerine, ylang ylang, royal Hawaiian sandalwood, jasmine, lemongrass, spruce, bitter orange, and neroli. And that can help stimulate memory responses to help you reconnect with your own identity, which is one of the first steps in finding emotional balance, right? If we're all being chameleons of who we think everybody wants us to be, instead of being authentically who we are, then we're not doing anyone any services, the least of which we're not doing ourselves any service by doing that. So inner child is one of those things that maybe you find yourself in these transitions, or you're feeling like, maybe I want to try a new job, or I'm looking for something different here, or I'm looking for something different there. Or whatever. If you're just feeling a little bit listless, this inner child would be one to come back to kind of reconnect with who you are and the things that are meaningful and valuable to you. This is one that you might want to consider diluting with a, just a 1-to-1 ratio. Or if you're somebody who's comfortable with oils, maybe you don't have to, it's up to you, but note that the citrus oils are high on this one. You've got orange and tangerine as the first 2 ingredients. So you need to be aware of their photosensitivity. You wouldn't want to put this like all over your neck and then go out in the sun with your neck exposed, because there's the potential for that photosensitive stuff. So this is when you could diffuse. This is one you could put over your heart, any of those kinds of things. If you're working through your own inner child experiences, you could say that you could put your hand over your heart and say, I release the past. If you're journaling, this would be a great one to see the photo here. If you're journaling and you're trying to like process through what's next for you, or any of those kinds of things, then this would be a really great one to add to your experience. Next up is present time. Thomas S. Monson said, the past is behind, learn from it. The future is ahead, prepare for it. The present is here, live it. And for somebody who's I'm a person inclined to always be thinking about the future, and therefore often, and depending on your personality type, you might be somebody who's inclined to always looking towards the past, or wanting things to be how they were, or you're caught up in something in your past. Or if you're somebody who's worried about what might happen in the future, or you find yourself worrying about something in the future, present time is one of those things that can kind of help bring it all to the center, bring that homeostasis back, and bring you back into balance. It's got sweet almond, bitter orange, black spruce, and ylang ylang. And when diffused, present time help you to focus on the here and now. So you can get beyond the past and move forward, or not be so focused on the future and be here. It was created to help bring people into the moment. If you pair meditation or prayer with present time, it can even have a more powerful effect for you. It's a great one for meditation as you focus on your breath, or whatever your calming practices are, your body awareness, and your present thoughts. So present time is one that a lot of people share that this is one that you want to bring with you. If you're an expecting mom, this is one to have with you during delivery, to help you focus on the present and just experience it and live through that moment. It might even be, if you've got children present, you want to be able to sit with them and focus on them for a minute, or you're going to have focused playtime or whatever, present time might help you get out of the brain space of like, what am I going to cook for dinner? Or, oh my gosh, I have this deadline that's coming up, or, gosh, I wish I hadn't done X, Y, and Z. And you're carrying some guilt about that as you sit down to play with your child, or to be present with your spouse, or any of those kinds of things. This is a really great one to help ground you, to again, take some deep breaths and refocus your mind. So it's really great for when you're spending time with family, friends, social gathering even, or alone in meditation. Again, this is one you can obviously diffuse. You can obviously, breathe and inhale in. A specific area that you could apply this with 2 to 4 drops directly to the area 2 inches below your belly button, and help focus you there. Dilution is not really required unless it's really sensitive skin. And one suggested affirmation for present time is I see clearly. That is present time. Release. Release is a blend of ylang ylang, olive, lavender, geranium, royal Hawaiian sandalwood, grapefruit, tangerine, spearmint, lemon, blue cypress, divana, kaffir lime, akatia, jasmine, chamomilla, recutita. There you go. Blue tansy and rose. It gives a relaxing aroma that facilitates your ability to kind of let go of anger, frustration. It also promotes harmony and balance when diffused. I have a friend who shared that when they got released and diffused it for the first time, they just found themselves just crying as they were releasing and processing some of the hard things that were going on in their life at that time. And they joked, that this bottle of oil ought to come with a warning label. I actually love the way Release smells. It just smells really good to me. It is reminiscent to me somewhat of Sacred Mountain, or somewhere between Sacred Mountain, Valor. I don't know. That's just the way I come at it. But one way to consider Release is in our kiddos. Our babies, people share Release is a really good one for tantruming and little kids whose minds are growing bigger than their ability to speak what their needs and communicate what their needs are or wants are, or their ability to just even regulate their own emotions. So Release would be a good one for that, for them to get out whatever they're experiencing. But on the other spectrum of childhood, let's talk about teenagers. Teens are emotional, right? Like you were a teenager once and your hormones are raging. Lots of changes are going on in their bodies. They're transitioning from childhood into adulthood. And often there's a struggle with being dependent on the parents while having a strong desire to be independent. Of course, that's going to create feelings that can cause tension. That they also may feel overwhelmed. You may feel overwhelmed as the parent by the emotional and physical changes that they're experiencing. So they may be going through this and being overwhelmed by it in the middle of it. Communicating your love for your child is an effective way to help your teen during difficult life changes, and equipping your teenagers with tools to release those unwanted emotions can be helpful in creating emotionally healthy teens, allowing them to feel and process in a healthy manner. I mean, I've just seen so many news articles in the last few years, or so many studies being done, so many surveys being done of teen health crisis that's going on, mental health crisis, specifically in young girls, but mental health crisis in general. So helping our teenagers and equipping them and giving them these tools. I mean, any of the things that we've talked about, any of these oils that we've talked about can be a catalyst for helping them sort of put words to something they may not even know or understand. And at the end of the day, any of these oils are really great tools to help connect something physical to emotions or experiences they're feeling, and to physically have something they can focus on and help process through. So you can think about Release as being one that would be really great for that, for a teen as well. Movement can be used in various forms. I mean, many people find such great release when they have forms of intensity to work through or release different emotions. So people find high intensity, like a HIIT workout, a high intensity interval training workout. Find a ton of those on YouTube. You can go for a run, sports like boxing, having a boxing bag out in the garage, maybe, that can help release stressors and frustrations. And some people might find on the other side of things that intentional movement would be helpful, like yoga, or just really focusing on grounding yourself in your experience, in the feelings and all the different senses you're experiencing, can help release anxiousness and cultivate a sense of peace. So diffusing Release would be a simple tool that anyone can use, and it's really effective to help feel and process emotions such as anger, resentment, guilt, overwhelm. These are the types of things that Release can really help with, even unnamed, even if you can't really figure out like what it is that you need. Release would be a great one. So ways to think about how to do it, you can put directly below your throat or above your clavicle. So those would be places that you could release. Dilution, again, is not required unless it's the most sensitive skin, or you can diffuse it. These are really great ways to do it. An affirmation that you can pair with it would be, I let go with ease and grace. And I'll share some links. There's a few links of some articles or posts that might be helpful and beneficial if you've got a teen who's maybe you're wanting to help offer emotionally healthy responses. Last but certainly not least is going to be Valor, and this is one that we're generally familiar with, right? Many of us know it, and we, if you can think about this as inhaling courage and exhaling fear, and that could even be of that breath prayer. You can think these, you can exhale your fear as you go. Courage is something we all need, and we need it at every stage of our lives, right? There's different things. Courage to take our first steps, step onto the school bus for the first time, get through our first presentation, courage to dream, to go after those dreams, to start a family, to be in a relationship, to build a business. Anytime we have an opportunity to start something new that can feel risky and scary, even I know that there's a lot of people who are feeling a lot of social anxiety getting back out there in the world, figuring out how to navigate getting back out there in the last year or so. And so this is just a really great, Valor is courage and liquid courage, right? Courage in a bottle. Using Valor can be really effective for that. The opposite of courage, if you think about it, is inertia. So saying the affirmation can help you move from inertia to courage. So, breathing in courage, exhaling fear, or, another affirmation to consider would be, I come from strength, or I come out of my strength. So you can consider those as what you would want as your affirmation to go about it. You can diffuse Valor for an inspiring and calming aroma. You can apply it topically to experience the uplifting fragrance. This is a really great one to use. It's just your own perfume or cologne. It's got a blend of black spruce, camphor, blue tansy, frankincense, and geranium. Last night, I loved this. I diffused probably like 3 drops of Valor and 3 drops of evergreen essence, which is one that I just love. I love evergreen essence. If you haven't tried it yet or smelled it yet, it's so good. That's what I diffused in my kids' room last night, and it smelled so amazing. So we all know and love Valor. It's one that we want to just keep coming back to and reminding ourselves of that tool that we have. One point that I want to talk about here is also this thing called the aroma freedom technique. The AFT, the aroma freedom technique, was created by Dr. Ben Perkis, who is a licensed psychologist, and it uses the power of scent, and he has used the power of scent in his practice to gently shift awareness away from negative thoughts, feelings, and memories, and to initiate a positive outlook and attitude. This results in greater confidence and inner freedom. When we're no longer stuck in our negative mindsets, we're free to create the life that best serves us. It's a 12-step process, and it's another tool you can use to help you release emotions and memories that are holding you back and allowing you to move forward. It's a simple process that starts with setting an intention or goal you would like to achieve, one you don't believe is very attainable. And then you rate your intention on a scale of 1 to 10 and move through a series of steps incorporating your essential oils, which will allow you to move through different emotions that are limiting you. You can use very common oils such as stress away, frankincense, lavender, lemon, peppermint, and thieves to help tap into the deep memories and emotions and release them to foster growth. Or you can also use some of the favorites and things that we've talked about here: inner child, release, present time, transformation, believe. You can purchase Dr. Ben Perkis's book through his website and walk yourself through the process, or you can find a practitioner on his website to guide you through this process. And that's at aromafreedom.com. In fact, there's a free 13-minute intro webinar that you could watch straight from that website. So go click around if that's something that sounds interesting to you. Maybe one of you has tried the aroma freedom technique. Let us know how that was or what your experience was with it. But it's pretty intriguing. I love hearing people's experiences. There's just some really phenomenal testimonies out there. And this, of course, is the feelings kit. It's all of the oils we just talked about. If you were going to try and order all of these oils individually, even with your wholesale discount, you'd be looking at around $300. And some of them aren't even available in the 5 milliliter. So a couple of them, you would have to buy the 15 milliliter and it would be even more expensive. So the feelings kit is only $203.25. So that's a nearly $100 savings if you get things in this kit. So when you order it, and let's say you want to order the feelings kit on your subscribe and save, you could earn between 20 and 50 reward points, depending on how much your earn rate is. So of course, when you put something on subscription, for the first months 1 to 3, you're getting 10% back. And then months 4 to 24 or 4 to 13 is 20. And then, I'm sorry, 50. I'm getting them all confused. I'll put a graphic in there for you just so that you know it changes. It's been changing and my script isn't updated. So let me just put a graphic in. But you get earn rates and it goes all the way from 0 or from 10% and just those first months all the way to 25% earn rate. So 25% of everything that you put on subscription each month, you're getting back to cash in as free points. And of course, since this is $203, you would be able to qualify for that 190 promo. And if you were doing it on subscription, that would be 2 things this month. And most months you would get 2 things at 190 for free, just added automatically to your cart. So that's a great bonus and a great incentive. So not only are you saving $100 off the individual prices, if you were to try and purchase all of these oils individually, but you're adding on these freebies and it's just sort of a win-win. Another consideration is that you could use those loyalty points that I was just talking about, your earn points, your rate. This is one that's eligible for that. So I used to, when I was brand new to oils, the thing that I would do is I would save up. I would buy on my we called it essential rewards back then. I would buy on my essential rewards the things that like my family needed that we were using regularly. Let's say we ran out of lavender or we ran out of thieves or like whatever. That's what I would put on my subscription. And then as I watched those loyalty points accrue, those ER points back then, but what's now called, your loyalty points. As I watch those loyalty rewards points accrue, I would use them to cash in on things like the feelings kit or the oils of ancient scripture or those other things, because often those kit prices are the better deal than if you were to try and buy all those oils individually. And it was always so fun to get a whole kit of oils and just play with them and get to experience 6 new oils instead of just 1 or 2, or get something that I already know about. So maybe think about your loyalty rewards as like a free bank account of fun money that you can spend in whatever ways you need to. So, just keep that in mind. Of course, the best deal is getting this through subscription. And maybe you even know somebody who would benefit from being a member or getting this discounted price as a customer, the way that this would enable them right in the door. All you have to do is spend 100 PV on that first purchase, and this automatically will qualify them for a year's worth of a wholesale discount instead of having to pay that extra cost, that 24% extra cost. So maybe you know somebody who could really benefit from this. So I hope this has been beneficial. A couple testimonials I wanted to share, just like 1 or 2 considerations for you to think about. I was looking up some of these various oils and looking at some of different people's specific testimonials, and there was a lot of really interesting things. One of the things that kept reoccurring for people as they reported in on some sort of processing through, and sometimes it was associated with the raindrop technique, and sometimes, which is another really great kit you should buy with your loyalty points. Sometimes it would be through raindrop, or sometimes it would be through this feelings kit, or they might have gotten 1 or 2 oils from the feelings kit. And one of the reoccurring themes was a physical pain being released alongside the personal weight they felt lifted emotionally. And that's worth noting. It's worth noting that our bodies are not islands, right? Like we don't have like a pain body and a digestive body and even though we all learned in school when we were being taught biology, we all learned these different parts and how they all intermingle and intertwine with one another. The reality, and even our modern medicine today, we're often going to specialized doctors, right? And it's great. It's great that they have these specialties. We're going to a doctor who can specialize in the digestive tract, or an endocrinologist, or an oncologist, or a whatever. We're going to all these different doctors, and oftentimes these doctors are looking specific at one thing, and they're not kind of taking the whole picture view, right? So it's worth considering that if you're somebody who has not processed pains, traumas from childhood, getting that mental help that you need is really valuable. And these essential oils aren't the end all be all for that. You can get help online. And so you can get it in person. You can now get it online. I mean, I even was hearing the other day that you could get texting mental health support. And just to kind of, I mean, even these, maybe you're staying up on the tech news, even like Chat GPT or those kinds of open AI, all these large language models are being equipped to help people process the hard feelings and the mental health situations they're experiencing. So these oils are not obviously in place of getting that good traditional therapy. But one thing that people were frequently pointing out is in therapy and in using these oils and in practicing these things and experiencing and processing their emotions, they were seeing changes in their physical body, significant pains in their back, or issues with their neck or whatever. And that often these things were lifting alongside these emotional things. So if you're somebody who's really hurting and really needing help, reach out, find a practitioner that you feel safe with, find a therapist that can work through some of these things with you, and equip yourself with these oils to help support your healing journey as one of the tools in your toolkit that can help bring you homeostasis and help bring you that balance and help bring you that wholeness that you need and that you deserve. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you can have some sort of takeaway out of this, and we will catch you next time.